Hey, yeah, welcome in. That's right. It is a Monday edition of Orange and Blue today. Cecil, Lammey, Andrew, Mason, coming off a bye week. Mace, do you feel fresh today?
Define fresh. Are we talking about just fresh and refreshed? Or am I feeling fresh and, a little bit, don't get fresh with me?
I like that. I'll do the Outcast, like so fresh and so clean, right? So we're both feeling like after a bye.
So we're not doing, Buffalo stance, don't you get fresh with me kind of thing? Way back, going old school. Yeah,
that's a great song, by the way.
Yeah, it's a old school jam there. Yeah, so I mean, I'm feeling fresh in all manners of the word. How about that?
Yes. Okay. Well, we'll take that. Hopefully the Broncos are as well, coming out of their bye week on Thanksgiving, preparing for the Commanders. Lots to get into today. Of course, OBTA, BFD, Mason. Earlier this morning, Sean Payton, kind of back in the routine, does the Monday morning press conference. And that press conference, of course, is via Zoom. And you participate in it, Mace. And it was interesting. I believe it was his first answer, right? About things that need to improve here.
Yes. And, the Broncos are 9-2. So obviously second best record in the league. And as I wrote at denversports.com, and I just went and confirmed it going through all the games. If the Broncos win out, there's nothing anybody else can do. Because with the Colts losing on Sunday, taking that third loss, if the Broncos win out, even if the Patriots win out, the Broncos have the number one seed because the Broncos would win on a common opponent tiebreaker. The difference would be the Patriots losing that week one game to the Las Vegas Raiders. So the Broncos are in very good shape right now. It was weird that yesterday they dropped the line in the seeding, and yet they gained control of their fate regarding the number one seed. And yet, despite that, still beyond the record, the underlying metrics show that this is a team that definitely has some things that it can improve upon. And Sean Payton zeroed in on two things in particular when he spoke with the team on Monday. They returned from their bye. Sean Payton borrows from what Andy Reid did. Andy Reid's practice during a bye week that allowed him to have a lot of success over the years was send the team away for the entire week, let him scatter, and then bring him back a week later. He, many years ago, called Andy Reid and asked, "What do you do?" And Andy Reid told him, and Sean Payton mimicked that. And so that's why the Broncos were gone for a week completely. They came back Monday, and his message was clean up the penalties and get turnover margin right. Here's Sean Payton talking about that.
Well, I think the easy illustration for us coming out off the bye, it's not like we're at the halfway point, but nonetheless, here we are in a position to compete for seeding. And there are two things that stand out. The penalties stand out. If you said, what's the low-hanging fruit that you have to clean up to improve your chances of getting the best possible seed. And then secondly is harping on the plus-minus turnover, giveaway, takeaway. We ended up one last week, and that meant a lot. We were close to being up two, but in important games, that one possession can be the difference. So that was two of the main topics this morning before we broke up.
Okay. What do you think of that message, Mason? Of those two, I have a third, but of those two, which do you believe can be fixed the soonest?
Well, penalties, you can always do things within your power to cut pre-snap penalties. Those are obviously the easiest to get down. Infractions within the run of play are going to be a little bit tougher. And then in particular, the big infractions that seem to be, you could say, a little bit reputationally based, like Riley Moss and the pass interference penalties. Right now, he leads the league in penalties and penalty yardage. He leads the league in penalty yardage by, a good 50 yards over anybody else so far this season as of last week, and that's a concern. And sometimes when you're a defensive back and you get that sort of reputation, it's hard to overcome that. That may be something that could be hard for him to get past this year in terms of what officials are looking for. And when Payton was asked about it later in the conference call, he said, well, you're on the opposite side of Pat Surtain. You're going to get things thrown your way. Of course, what that left out was his worst game in terms of penalties was a game without Pat Surtain. It was last week. So take that for what it's worth.
Right. Get the penalties turned down, and then turnover margin. Listen, this defense is doing so much, Mace. Would more turnovers be nice? Yeah, some more picks, some fumble recoveries, some strip sacks. You know what I mean? That would be awesome. But at the rate this defense is going, maybe just me. Like, I'm not one to. They need more turnovers. Like, that would be awesome. But I think turnovers come in bunches. And it's one of those things, right position, right time. Maybe Talanoa Hufanga gets a pass instead of having it drop, bounce off his hands, something like that. I think turnovers you work on, you want to get more turnovers, but I'm pretty happy with what this defense is doing. I'm sure Sean is too.
Well, you'd like to think that with the number of plays that could result in giveaways, and I'm talking about sacks, because you mentioned strip sack, fumbles, and of course throws that could be intercepted, and those are throws under pressure. I think there will be more opportunities. One thing that I think maybe you'll end up seeing more of going forward, Cease, is as teams continue to adjust to what they're dealing with this Broncos pass rush, perhaps you see quarterbacks more prone to getting rid of the football sooner, anticipating the rush a little bit more, and perhaps maybe the sack count goes down, but perhaps the number of balls that could be intercepted goes up, that they simply they focus on getting rid of the ball quicker. And if that's happening under pressure, maybe that ends up meaning, okay, perhaps a few more balls that could be intercepted by the guys on the back end. So you may be getting to success in a little bit different way. You're going to look down the stretch here, the final 6 games. You will have 3 teams, Las Vegas, the Chargers, and the Chiefs, that will see you a second time. So those are 3 teams that, from firsthand experience, you get a chance to see how they adjust to what you threw at them. Of course, the Raiders, when you see them again here in a couple of games, you'll see them with a different offensive coordinator, because Chip Kelly was sacked after Sunday's game after a season of underwhelming performance. So that will be interesting to see right away what the Raiders do differently. The first team that will have seen this Broncos D twice this year. What will Greg Olsen, I believe, is taking over play calling out there once again, as he has before?
It's kind of his thing.
Yeah, this is what, his 3rd time as a Raiders play caller over the years. So, well, let's see how he adjusts. This will be the first time the first chance we have to see one of the AFC West opponents go against the Broncos D a second time. So I think that's going to be illuminating to see what the Raiders' counter moves are in a second opportunity to go against this pressure pack D.
All right. And see how they respond and react to that, of course, and see how the Broncos then adjust to what they do. So turnover margin, penalties. Do you have anything else you'd like to see improve? Because I do.
Well, I mean, you'd obviously like to see them get more out of the screen game. The problem is I want to see I want to see more consistency from the run game, because even when it was productive, the success rate was not where you'd want it to be. J.K. Dobbins was effective, but the consistency wasn't always where you were hoping to have it in terms of this run game. The problem is I don't know that you're going to be able to get it there with what's left without J.K. Dobbins in the mix. So I'm not sure improvement there is realistic. The other area of improvement, I think, for me is on Bo Nix, because I want to see him become more consistent with his footwork. And I think if you see that, more settled with his feet, and I thought we saw some positive signs against the Chiefs.
Oh, for sure.
Then if that's the Bo Nix we see going forward, that's a Bo Nix who's going to be more accurate. And then I think the offense would become more effective as a result of that. But you have to see it in more than just one game. It has to happen time and time again. It has to be something that is consistent and not just something that we see on one Sunday where everybody was locked in for what everybody knew was the biggest game, and not just this season, but several Broncos seasons. It's one thing to have it then. What do you do coming out of the bye against a Washington team that
they're desperate?
They're desperate. They are, I mean, for all intents and purposes, they're out of the playoff mix, and their season is going to end after week 18. So, they are fighting for self-respect. They too had a bye this week, and that's another fascinating element to this game. The Broncos don't have the bye week advantage because Washington too had the week off. So what did they come out of the bye with? It looks like you won't see Jaden Daniels back this week, but what do we see as Washington's adjustments as they try to right their ship?
Right. I look at it, and I was going to use the word commitment, but I like the word consistency as well when it comes to the rushing attack. My other one, as you talk about Bo Nix, and yes, we need to see that continue from the Chiefs game, the consistent footwork. Are drops a problem?
Yes.
Do you believe? Yeah. Then because I would say less drops then. And I don't really put that on Bo, like catchable passes, but less drops for Troy Franklin, even Sutton, certainly Tyler Bidet if you're getting targeted. Like, please have less drops for this team. You don't have to play perfectly. That game really doesn't exist, but you need to be as precise as possible with the tight games that this team is going to play. And quite frankly, Mace, they've played tight games almost all season long. You got to be better. If you're going to play tight games, you got to be as precise as possible.
I mean, this team going over the course of the season, it's got one of the highest drop rates in the league, right? Evan Engram has extremely high drop rate among tight ends. I mean, the extreme drop rate, you can kind of distill it down to a couple of players skewing it more than anybody, and that's Tyler Bidet and Evan Engram. If you took them out of the mix, you wouldn't be looking at the Broncos having a particularly ghastly drop rate, but as a team, the Broncos simply do. It, as you and I both say, the truth ain't designed to make you feel good, right? So,
nope.
I mean, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do about it?
You fix the glitch by not throwing to Tyler Bidet, which kind of is a tell when he's on the field, he's going to be a blocker. And with Evan Engram, I guess you just deal with it. I want to live in a world where Evan Ingram's a part of this offense.
Well, of course, there were only 6 questions asked of Sean Payton today. 6 people chosen for questions. And of course, we got the coach. That's all the questions we have, which wasn't true. There were 5 people with their metaphorical hands raised in the queue. So that wasn't all the questions, but I digress. My question was going to be about making it work with 3 running backs, because Sean Payton, how many times did he say last year, oh, it's a struggle to make it work with 3 running backs? Well, that's basically what he tried to do last week. And it appears that's what he's trying to do going forward, that he's trying to get opportunities for RJ Harvey, Tyler Bidet, and Jaleel McLaughlin, that it looks like Tyler Bidet is still his 2-minute back, because for 2 minute, he wants the guy that can stay in and be Mr. Pass Pro.
He wants Samaje Perine.
Yes, exactly. He wants Tyler Bidet as his Samaje Perine. RJ is the primary back, and then Jaleel is the relief back. Basically, Jaleel has become RJ.
Yeah.
Right? Jaleel has become RJ. RJ has become JK.
He needs to produce like JK. As a runner.
Yeah, as a runner. And I put it this way. I have much more confidence in Jaleel being RJ than RJ being JK right now. And
very
actually, Jaleel kind of was RJ last week in terms of productivity. He was pretty close. The thing that needs to happen, though, as well, is Jaleel probably needs to play a few more snaps where he's not the target or he's not the ball carrier, because Sean got into that pattern of 2023 where 70+% of the time, if Jaleel was out there, he was the guy that was getting the ball in his direction. So that's something because if that continues, every D is going to lock onto it, because that's what happened in 23. And over the course of the season, Jaleel, his effectiveness declined because everybody knew if he checked in, he was probably getting the football. So that's something to be mindful of, that you need to get Jaleel's snaps up, but some of those snaps need to involve him not getting the ball. And this is where you need to throw caution to the wind a little bit. Yes, Jaleel has not had many pass pro snaps in his career, but he has bulked up. He's carrying 10, 12 more pounds than he has, and he's put in the study. Say, if you have to handle pass pro, trust him a little bit and take you may have to take the chance with him in pass pro a little bit, just so his presence is not the tell that he's more than likely getting the football when he's out there.
Yep. And it was a question about RJ, but you remember in August when I asked Sean, do you trust RJ in pass pro? And he's like, well, you can do things, you can chip stuff. And I did that with Darren Sproles. All right, we'll do it with Jaleel. Jaleel certainly deserves more snaps. And with those more snaps will come more touches, but it can't be a tell, or else his productivity will not be as efficient or as effective. So give him the opportunity. He didn't bulk up for nothing. We've seen him break tackles this year. We've seen him do stuff that he hasn't done previously. Yes, his role will be limited, but I believe that Jaleel could do more.
By the way, speaking of pass protection, RJ Harvey's pass pro snaps doubled last week. He had 4 pass pro snaps in the first 10 games of the year. He had 4 against the Kansas City Chiefs alone last week.
Sounds about right.
So just food for thought, and he didn't allow a pressure in those 4 pass pro snaps. It's a good sign.
That is a good sign for the young man. We'll continue to watch that with great interest, as we say on OBT. Before we get a little newsy items here to wrap up today's program on a Monday, how about we hear a word from our sponsor?
At Ramos Law, they believe in building long-term relationships with their clients. It's never just a transaction. Their motto says it best. Ramos Law, what makes us different makes us better. And it's so true. Ramos Law, uniquely built to fight for you.
Real quick, the inventory on the pass pro snaps from the running back position last week, it was 4 for RJ Harvey, and it was 2 for Tyler Bidet, none coming in for Jaleel McLaughlin. That's something, again, you may have to throw caution to the wind there a little bit and play him a little bit more, knowing that he may have to pick up some blitzes there. And like you said, in the response to the question that he was asked about RJ, but this is probably true with Jaleel, maybe you chip, maybe you help him out a little bit. But I think that would make Jaleel more effective, and because he's still got that speed, still got that burst about him.
Oh yeah, exciting when he's out there getting the ball. Mace, Damian Pierce chose to sign.
Choo.
Yes, I almost said it. I'm glad you did. He chose the Kansas City Chiefs practice squad over an opportunity with the Denver Broncos. Mike Kliss saying that he's got sources to say the Broncos were strong, went hard after Damian Pierce, former nearly 1,000-yard rusher. That sounds ridiculous, but yeah, 9-something as a rookie a few years ago. Pierce certainly would have been part of an answer. He would have been part of an answer that I would have liked. So I believe it could be three things, and I'm not sure why he would do that. Either he thought the vision in Kansas City was better for him, where Isaiah Pacheco's coming back, Kareem Hunt's playing better than I thought he would. They have Brashard Smith as an exciting kind of their version of Jaleel McLaughlin. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is still there. So basically Damian Pierce is like the fifth, if my math is right. He had like that opportunity more so than the Broncos, where he could have gotten active. He could have been a game day active and maybe been, the JK to RJ. RJ could have been back to being RJ. I'm not sure, but Damian Pierce said no. Either he liked the opportunity, he liked Andy Reid more than Sean Payton, which is just kind of a personal preference thing, or they paid him more. And if they paid him more, my idea is we'll just make him a larger offer. But he said no to the Broncos, and I know it's curious, Mace. Curious.
Well, I would also say this: if the Broncos really wanted him, they could have just said, "We're going to put you on our 53."
Right.
So that's the thing. Like, if that, I mean, I get what Kliss is saying, but remember, he's also kind of we know organizational mouthpiece basically, and if the Broncos really wanted to make sure they got him, they could have said, "Well, we'll put you on our 53."
Right.
So to me, it's like, okay, they didn't want him bad enough. There was another level they could have gone to if they really wanted to secure Damian Pierce.
Yeah.
That's the thing. If you're going against somebody else, you can always say, well, we're going to kick it up a notch, and they chose not to. So, and like you say, it could also be a personality thing. Maybe you just liked Andy Reid, maybe you like their vision, whatever. But is what it is. But when a player signs with the practice squad, it's like, okay, well, you could have said, all right, we'll put you on the 53 right now, and there's your entree to getting on the field. So, that's, so what that tells you is the Broncos wanted him. They didn't want him bad enough, I would say.
Which means they're moving forward with what they've got. No transactions this bye week, except for one, a big one. And congratulations to Will Lutz, man.
Yeah.
Sean Payton, find someone that looks at you like Sean Payton looks at Will Lutz, because that's a connection. And hey, when you got it, I think kicker insecurity is a thing. Ask Kansas City. When you've got a great kicker, you keep him.
Coaches do not want to have to think about the kicker or the punter. I've said this before, but to coaches, the kicker or the punter and their skill, they view it like turning on the light switch in a room. You expect the light to simply turn on. You only think about it when the bulb is out. It's just reflexive, like, oh, flip the switch, it's on, and then you go about your work. When you don't have that light and you can't find a bulb, it's a disaster. Like if you're with, same thing like with the internet, right? Try doing your work nowadays from home, and your internet's out.
Oh yeah, we've scrambled a few times, both of us, on our ends of like, I gotta go somewhere to get my Wi-Fi going.
It's a disaster, right?
Yeah.
For us.
Oh yeah.
You just expect the internet to be there, just without thought. That's it. Okay, I've got I got my Wi-Fi, I've got my hardwire connection, I'm good to go. And that's how coaches view kicking and punting, in part because they don't know how to coach it. They don't know the technique. Sean Payton does not know kicking and punting technique, and he'll admit that. But you need it, and at any point your season could be riding on it. So you want to find specialists who you trust so you don't have to think about it. Why did Sean Payton have Thomas Morstead for a dozen years? Once he found the punter he trusted, like, okay, I don't have to think about this anymore, right? And it's one reason why he's very hopeful for Jeremy Crawshaw when Darren Rizzi presented Crawshaw to him, because if Crawshaw can be that other guy, and when Thomas Morstead kind of gave a secondary endorsement of Crawshaw to Payton, you know he took that seriously because he wants Crawshaw to be the last punter he has, period. He doesn't want to worry about that anymore.
Right.
And Will Lutz has been his only full-time kicker. He had to replace him for a year in 21 because of a core muscle injury, but the only permanent kicker he's had since 2016. Sean Payton had 10 kickers in his first 9 seasons as a head coach.
Wow.
I mean, just some of it was injuries, some of it was ineffectiveness, but he just couldn't settle on a guy. And then he got Will Lutz. And ever since then, it's just been like turning on the light or walking in and turning on your computer, and the internet is there, and he hasn't had to think about it. And there's a great security for a kicker in that, or a coach in that with the kicker.
Yeah.
Not having to think about it at all.
And that value comes with a salary attached, because that's very valuable. Straight through. And he knows it's going to be straight through.
Yeah. Okay, you could pay a kicker the league minimum, and you could save some money on your cap. New Orleans is struggling in a lot of ways, but ask them how they feel, because they have a kicker in Blake Grupe who has missed 8 field goals this year, and Will Lutz has missed 10 field goal attempts in 2 2/3 years. And and a bunch of those were blocked. So, he hasn't missed wide or short very often. He's been blisteringly accurate so far as a Broncos kicker. So that's a good thing to have when the misses are rare. It's not that he's not going to miss some, but it hasn't happened very often for Will Lutz, and he's been everything the Broncos could have hoped for when they moved on from Brandon McManus. Remember those months that summer of 23 when they brought in kickers, and they had 2 kickers early in training camp, and it's like, and you're kind of people are kind of nervous. And I think I said more than once to you, Cecil, that it's very possible the kicker isn't on this roster right now.
And you said that on the show.
Yes. And lo and behold, Will Lutz became available because the Saints decided to go in the young kickers direction, and it just worked out very nicely for all parties. And it's funny, Lutz talked about his contract today. He said he was surprised the offer came in right now during the bye. He was on the golf course when he got the call. He also said he wants to close his career with the Broncos, but that he hopes this isn't his last contract. So he's got it in mind to keep going for a while. So if you think about that, he came into the league in 2016. This is a 3-year contract. It would take him through 28. He's thinking about extending his career to year 14, 15, 16. And the way kickers can go in the NFL, that's very possible. So he's thinking in terms of probably, hey, I'd like to be in that new stadium when it opens. He said in the conference call today that he looked over at the new facility being built and thought, hey, I want to be in there and be a part of that. And I'm sure he's going to start thinking about the new stadium and thinking to himself, hey, I want to be there and be a part of that and still be around here in 2031 when it opens. And I think if he keeps kicking this way, Cecil, I think there's a very good chance he'll still be a part of this team by then, because you don't want to have to worry about kickers. And if he keeps kicking this way, he'll still be here in 2031. No doubt.
No hurries, no worries, and no doubt, no question. We want y'all to be here with us, and we appreciate you very much helping out our YouTube channel. Mace, how can folks further help us along?
Like,
comment,
share,
subscribe,
hit that notification bell
so that you
never
miss
vid.
That's right. He is Andrew Mason. You follow him on all the socials at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey saying OBT's a BFD. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned, and would you please